Rena, it's such an honor for me to have another friend of Avigail sitting with me. Your maiden name is Kraus, now is Sheetz. Really, as I told you before, it's a treasure. It's every person that knew Avigail and sharing wisdom from Avigail with me is really a gift for me. So thank you for going out of your comfort zone, as you said before, to be here in honor of Avigail for celebration of her life, of her legacy.
Thank you. They told you that I couldn't not speak about Abigail, who was so dear to me. And I miss her greatly and think of her often. Abigail's family is friends with our family friends. Abigail's a few years younger than me, and I knew her when she was really young. And when I was a madricha in Madreshet Moria, mutual friends suggested that I reach out to Abigail and ask her to be a madricha. We were looking for a madricha, and she immediately agreed. And so she and I were roommates and madrichot together before she was discovered later in that year as the wonderful teacher. She was a madricha, but she was a teacher for the students right in that first year. She taught for several years, and she was immediately loved by her students.
Did your relationships continue with her after the madricha teacher year?
We became close friends. We weren't close friends before that. I knew her, and we became close friends, roommates, and I was privileged to be a roommate. And we became close friends through that year and continued until she passed away. But she was a dear friend throughout
your life.
I learned a tremendous amount from her and admired her. I have a lot to say about her. If you want me to talk, I can talk without being asked questions, or if you want to ask me specific things, I'm happy to answer.
So I just want to share here, and I probably will share in other interviews, that every person I reached out to, their immediate reaction was, wow, for Avigail, I'll do anything, but how can we describe Avigail in a short period of time? And are we going to fall short of who she was? There was this incredible admiration and respect to Avigail and love from her friends. At the same time, like, how can we do justice of such a giant in words? But at the same time, how can we not try to do whatever we can with what we have in her memory, in her legacy? And it's so beautiful. And I was sharing it with you before that it says, I think she really attracted this community of humble people, giants, brilliant, kind individuals. And it was important. Part of her core values, I think, was to surround herself with greatness. I want to hear a little bit from you about what was she like as a leader, as a companion, as a teacher, as a role model?
I was her friend, not her contemporary, and she had several contemporaries, wonderful Talmidot Chachamot, friends that really I knew in the early years, and also simultaneously that Abigail was becoming a teacher, a young teacher, several of her contemporaries as well, who are today Talmidot Chachamot. And I had that admiration for her then, early on, even though I felt lucky that I counted her as my friend, and I knew a side of her, not as her student, not as her contemporary, but I was privileged to know a side of her that I think maybe also students of hers knew as well. She, watching her teach Torah and her excitement, enthusiasm for it was felt. I did go to some shiurim of hers in later years, and that same enthusiasm and love of Torah that I knew that she had as in her early years of teaching, I saw it in her a year before she passed away, and at her shiurim, she still had that love and excitement teaching Torah that was contagious. And I saw her give that over to her students, many of her students who became teachers as well.
Wow.
And I saw that in the early years, and I saw it throughout her years. And it was incredible to be part of that. Like, you couldn't not be excited about a parasha. Learning Parashat Shavua from her was an experience. And at the same time, it was mentioned that she was this quality of how humble she was. She laughed at herself and she didn't take herself too seriously. And it was an incredible thing to see in a Talmidah Chachama that people were in awe from her, but she didn't take herself so seriously. She laughed at herself, and that humor that she had throughout and always was I think, one of her most special, amazing qualities. And I don't know that it's always something that goes hand in hand with someone who I consider, on the one hand, Talmidah Chachama that I admire, but always Begova Einayim. She would speak to people, understood intent, because she really felt that she was really humble. And I can say that I saw that, and something very personal, when I was in the hospital with her when she was so sick, and the hakarat atov that she showed to every person that we encountered. Wow. I was in awe of her. It was obviously a different side that I had never seen, and I think about it often. And it was a zchut to see the way that she treated each and every person she encountered. For several minutes, she would go on to tell each person what a chesed they do for her on a continuous basis, and thankful for everything that they do to try to make her feel comfortable. And I felt that I had an opportunity to see a great side of her in a time that was so difficult and challenging. It seemed effortless. This is just the way that she spoke, but I was witnessing it and I couldn't believe what I saw.
They say that a person shows their true values in challenging times. And it's no surprise to me that she rose up to that. Gratitude is a very strong core value for her family. It's beautiful to see and hear that it was in her DNA. Like you said, it was muvan me'elav. It was a given that she will show up with, and zeh chalak bishvila. It just came so naturally. It was part of who she was. The greatness, even through the darkest challenges. It's something to learn from. And I think part of her greatness was, like you said, she begova einayim. Like, she never felt like she was greater than somebody else, even though she was greatness beyond.
And as you said, I know her wonderful family. And she was raised in an environment of the love of Torah. And it's not surprising to me that she had it, that she was able to give it over in such a way that was so contagious. That is definitely something from her family, her parents, her siblings. She was from an environment of Ahavat Torah in Eretz Yisrael, and her love of and appreciation of being in Eretz Yisrael and teaching Torah was just something that she gave over because that was part of her. That's who she was. I especially think of Avigail during Yamim Noraim, leading up to the whole, from Chodesh Elul and leading up to Yom Kippur. My association of Avigail and that kufa was from when I knew her in the young ages and then years afterwards. And I had the privilege of doing a marathon of learning Ala Tshuva with her. She slept over in my apartment and we learned through the night. And as I was falling asleep, and she was saying, no, let's do more, another hour. Wow. And getting us to learn. But many years later, a few years ago, when Bet Shemesh came out and I heard it in the car, and I can't explain the powerful wave of emotion that came over to me. I was already thinking of Avigail in this tkufa of leading up to Yom Kippur, and I was in the car and I just felt like moved to tears from the song. And I called Rachel, Abigail's sister, and I left her this message and I said, I just heard a new song that was days after it came out, or the day it came out. I said, I have to tell you, I can't stop thinking of Abigail. And I knew to explain also why, that also after Yom Kippur, the next day she would be singing all of the songs of Mara Kohen. She and her fellow teachers, Debbie, our friend, and her contemporary, and Yael Ziegler, and singing the songs from the davening, and the elation afterwards. Like, it stays with me for years later, how she felt after the day after Yom Kippur and the days after, and that song Seder Avodah, hearing it. And Rachel told me afterwards that a few people had reached out to her and said the same. And she said she hadn't heard the song in the beginning when I told her. And she said, but I have to tell you, I've gotten a few messages from friends saying the same thing. Wow. And so there's something about it that reminded us and brought up feelings of closeness to Abigail.
Wow, what a beautiful story. I feel like she lived Judaism not only through teaching it, but every day she seized the opportunity of how can she bring the teaching into her life, not just leave it in the scriptures, but actually bekol gufa.
Mamash.
And what I'm hearing is that she made it so approachable and maybe even funny in a way of we don't always understand, but we can bring some of the human part of it into the experience of something that can be difficult to understand.
I think so. And I think that maybe not, I think of her not like humor, like levity necessarily, like not lightness, but humor, laugh out loud, humor, enjoying a laugh, enjoying something, an emotion that sometimes is associated with the levity and lightness, but it felt holier with Avigail.
So beautifully said. What is a memory that you have that comes with you often that keeps on coming up for you through your own personal life of Avigail?
I shared learning with her, or shiurim, but singing with her in the hospital at a time that was, it was the month before the Yamin Naraim, and singing with her and Yael in the hospital was a beautiful moment for me, beautiful and heavy and special and beautiful and sad. And I think about it and mixed emotions and a lot of moments being her roommate in our youth, and a lot of laughing and a lot of good times, but mixed with her teaching and seriousness. I think to me, more than sharing one memory is something that I have from Avigail, a mixture of a lot of these things that are not muvan me'elav, I think, complex. And so for me, it's maybe just the whole character that for me was Avigail. And
her derech haim.
Mamash, as a friend, and I see it from the side as how she was to her students. I was a madricha she was a madricha. We shared students together and who later became friends of hers. And so I know that she was that to many of her students as well. And so the specialness that I feel from her, I know she gave over to many. And it's a privileged group who feel that we have the opportunity to know Avigail, to learn from her, to be friends with her, to see her derech chaim, and to try to emulate some of those things. And to feel that we didn't have her long enough, yet she gave over that in the too short of the time that we had her, that she was able to give that over to us. People live a lifetime and don't give that over. So it wasn't enough. And I think about her. And I think about her now during this tkufa. I have thought about her often. Like, I would have liked to speak with her. Would have liked to hear her thoughts, share thoughts on this tkufa. And I feel that we are missing something that we could have used tremendously during this tkufa. Could have used chizuk from her. Could have used learning with her.
I feel the same. I feel very much the same, that so many things that are going on now, I think to myself, what would Abigail say? What would she do? How would she think? How would she show up? She would be a role model to so many of us. And part of the reason why I'm doing this is because we have to continue her legacy. And I want people that were not zochet to know her to learn from those that didn't know her, that had the zchut to know her, and continue her. As you said, people live a lifetime, double her life, and don't create what she created in her short life. And it's remarkable. It's really remarkable. You said it so beautifully. What do you think is one of the things that she was very passionate about?
Torah be'eretz Yisrael. Her children, her family.
All of them are so big, but she incorporated them so beautifully that each one was like the only one, which is meyuchad. Did you know her when she went to school to become a to'enet Beit Din?
Oh, I did. And I remember when she first started, and I remember when she had a chavruta with her first chavruta, who was her close friend for many years after. There were many years where I wasn't in touch with her on a day-to-day basis, which afterwards I felt, wow, how was I not? What a loss for me that I wasn't. But we picked up we resumed the friendship, picked up where we left off in the later years. And I felt, wow, what a loss that we didn't make the time during those years. But I know that we both loved each other and felt that closeness. And I felt that about the years of the Torah, when she was becoming a Torah, I wasn't part of it on a day-to-day basis, but I felt like it's so many other things that, first of all, was so much for her. And it was, that's what she did. Of course, that friends. But there's many things. She just accumulated knowledge and many things, and it seemed easily she did it. And it seemed right.
Did she share with you her why behind becoming?
No, but I did hear about some of the things when she was sick, and that's some of the things that I came into, but how some of those things ended up being more in a practical way and things that she was connected with. I just thought, wow, in the earlier years when she started doing it, I don't remember speaking to her about why she did it, but I remember when she became a Tanakh Rabbanit, I thought, oh, of course, that makes so much sense. She's exactly the kind. When I think of the women that became Tanakh Rabbanit, that makes so much sense. That she's one.
Rena, thank you for sharing this beautiful legacy of Avigail in a few minutes. And I hope people will take away from this conversation how humble she was and how she loved Torah and how she incorporated humanity of humor and love and enthusiasm. And as you said, it was her love to Torah, contagious, beautifully said. And if we don't look at the Parshat HaShavua with enthusiasm and joy, maybe we should start looking at it from the lens of Avigail. How do we approach this gift of Torah as a privilege and curiosity and joy? And to live alive through, like you said, Yamim Noaim, how to express it in the day-to-day life. What a beautiful story. And thank you for sharing with me. And may her neshama have an aliyah.
Lord, thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure she's smiling and I'm sure she's laughing.
את חיי